In video 1, we covered some very basic one-step equations. In video 2, we're going to step it up just a little bit and start looking at some two-step equations. So the two main ideas to keep in mind when you are doing an equation that uses more than one step is the first thing you're going to want to do is identify what operations are being done to the variable you're trying to isolate or get by itself. And then you want to use the inverse of each operation to undo it and get the variable by itself. Now, a little hint that will make this a lot easier is remember through this process we're working backwards to get to the variable by itself. So what you'll find is that you're often working through the order of operations backwards. And that's why I have little gems written up in my corner of the screen up here, so I can remember that my order of operations is GEMS, grouping, exponents, multiplying, dividing, and then subtracting and adding. But I want to work through this backwards. So instead of following the order that I would normally do when I was simplifying, I'm going to go in the reverse order. So let's go ahead and look at an example and see what that means. So in example 3, we are told to solve for x, and we are given the equation 3x plus 4 equals 14. So I'm going to look to see what the two different things that I'm doing on this are. So the first thing I notice is that I have the 3 in front of the x. Remember, anytime we have a number in front of a variable, that's going to be multiplication if there's no sign in between. So I know that I have multiplication going on, so I'm going to drop that off to the side here. And then I know that I also have the addition going on here because I'm adding 4. So I have multiplication and addition. Now if I'm working backwards through the order of operations, I would go through subtracting and adding first. So I need to get rid of that plus 4. I would do that by subtracting 4 from both sides, since subtraction is the inverse of addition. So on the left side, that's going to leave me with 3x, because the 4 and the negative 4 are going to cancel out and give me 0. And then on the right, I'm going to have 14 minus 4, which gives me 10. Alright, the next thing I'm going to need to do is to divide both sides by 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3 and divide this by 3. And I'm going to have my 3's cancel out here. I'll get x equals 10 thirds. Now we're fine with you giving your answers as improper fractions. The only thing that we do ask is that if it simplifies, that you go ahead and simplify. Of course, there's nothing that goes into both 10 and 3, so that's going to be our answer, x equals 10 thirds. And again, I can plug this into check. Let me switch ink colors here. So if I did 3 times 10 over 3 plus 4, it needs to give me 14. So of course the 3's will cancel out there, and I'll have 10 plus 4 equals 14. And then of course 10 plus 14 is going to give me 14, so I end up with 14 equals 14, and I know that I have the right answer. So it's always good to get into a practice of checking your answers on these to make sure that you have it right before you turn in a mastery check or a test. In example 4, we are asked to solve for y. So when I look at what's happening to y, I do see some addition again, and I see some division. Now this one's going to require a little bit more thought when we go through this process. So I have addition and I have division. And normally if I was working through GEMS backwards, I would undo the subtraction and addition first. However, that fraction bar complicates things a little bit further. What that fraction bar actually does is it groups that y plus 4 together. Because we don't want to just divide 4 and we don't just want to divide y, we want to divide both of them together. So that division bar actually puts that addition inside a set of grouping. So the grouping is actually going to be what we want to undo last. So we need to undo the division. To undo the division, we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So on the left side, that's going to cancel out, and we're just going to have y plus 4, and that's going to equal 27. So now we've gotten rid of that fraction bar, it gets rid of the grouping. We can finally get rid of that addition that we've wanted to get rid of earlier. So we're going to subtract 4 from each side because subtraction is the inverse of addition, and that's going to give us y equals 23. Alright, go ahead and attempt the 2 U-try problems. As you finish, make sure to check as always in the key, and then come back for the next video. See you guys then.